This episode of Around the Oval is brought to you by Todd Pennington with Revolution Mortgage.
Hey, Ohio State fans, Alex Gleitman here, back with another edition of Around the Oval, brought to you by Todd Pennington with Revolution Mortgage. This Saturday in Ohio Stadium is the annual Buckeye spring game. The Scarlet will take on the Gray in a ultimately glorified practice and scrimmage in front of, as long as the weather holds up and is going to be good. You know, you could have 100,000 fans in the horseshoe, but I think more importantly, at least for me and my guest today, Bill Bank Greene, it's not going to be necessarily what happens on the field, but it's going to be who's watching in those first few rows and from the sidelines. Ohio State expecting, our count right now on our list is somewhere between 30 and 40 visitors. Wow. I bet you it's close to probably 50 by the time game time rolls along. And honestly, a lot of them are top 150, top 100, even, high 4-star kids, maybe even 5-star kids. Really awesome list. And we're going to unpack that in today's episode. We're not going to go through all of those guys. If you want the full hours. Yeah, it will take hours. And we probably could do it. It would be highly entertaining. And we know plenty of you all will listen. But if you're a member of Buckeye Scoop, you can head to our Ask the Insiders board. We have a running thread pinned to the top that has the whole list of visitors, but we will talk about a select number of visitors that are coming. And we're going to start in the 2020 the ball. Wide receivers. Ohio State has not had a problem recruiting wide receivers with Brian Hartline at the helm. I mean, they didn't really have a problem with Zach Smith at the helm, but with Ryan Day's offense kind of opening things up in the passing game, and Brian Hartline, his experience in the NFL, his being young, able to relate to these kids. He's done a great job recruiting receivers, and they got a pair of excellent receivers coming to campus. Noah Rogers from North Carolina, making his first visit to Ohio State. Bryson Rogers from Florida actually was up at the end of March. He's a fast riser, a kid that nobody was really talking about 2 months ago, and now Alabama and Ohio State are fighting over him. Bill, let's start with these guys. What do you think about Ohio State's chances for each of these guys, and how does it fit into the wide receiver picture for this 2023 class?
Well, when you look at what Hartline has done and under Day's, approval, he's going to bring in 4 wide receivers every year. And they don't seem to be too concerned about if you end up at the bottom of the depth chart, you may leave. They don't seem to be too concerned about that, because that usually means you weren't as talented as the other guys, and then they'll just take 4 more next year, same caliber, same quality, and on they go. Would they take both of the Rogers kids if they want in? I tend to think they would. I think they're in great shape with Tate and Ennis. And looking ahead at class, that they're going to get. I feel they're going to get J.J. Smith. Got a great shot at JoJo Trader. I mean, so it's just nothing but quality, And I think if you look at a class of potentially Ennis, Tate, Rogers, and Rogers, sounds like a law firm. I think they'd be thrilled with that. So if each Rogers kid, which I don't expect to happen, but if each kid tries to commit this weekend, I think they would take both. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think they'd absolutely take both. I think their target number's 3. I think if they can get the right.
I don't know. I think he's going to push for 4.
I was going to say, I think if they could get the right 4, they're going to take 4. Like, yes. I don't think necessarily like if they get 3 of those guys and then it's like Anthony Brown's there. Like, I don't know if they're going to stretch to take Anthony Brown just because.
No, but I mean, if the dominoes start falling with the Rogers boys, and then Brandon Ennis says, I want in, and like, well, we got our 3. And then Carnell Tate's like, hey, I want to commit. Nope, we're filled. That ain't going to happen.
No. I agree.
They're not going to reach. Yeah. They won't reach for a project.
Yes,
they don't do that. They don't do that in this room. Other rooms, they do. Not this room. They don't reach.
Yeah, that's where my brain is. I think they're going to get 3 really, really good players. And then if they can get a 4th that matches that talent, they'll take them, but they're not going to reach for it. And I think I agree with, you brought it up first out of anyone that I've seen. I actually think their chances are better now with Brandon Ennis than they are with Carnell Tate. I still think that I would have both of them in the class, but I think Carnell Tate, I think Tennessee's making a move, and
he's looking.
There's NIL involved and things like that. And it's legal and it's
legal. I mean,
Yeah,
if
there's
I'm
nothing wrong
coming
with
out of
it.
high school and I'm 17 years old, I mean, yeah, the degree is important, and real life Wednesdays is important, and we develop you, and I get all that, but I mean, there are 200 wide receivers in the NFL on the 32 teams, and not 190 of them didn't come from Ohio State. As great of a job as Ohio State is doing, Hartline, Ryan Day, great offense, QBs out of this world. They aren't the only place that produces wide receivers. So yeah, you can get into the lottery system and try to win $20 million in the next 3 or 4 years. Or you can these kids are getting close to $1 million a year. The money's there. It's legal.
Yep.
It's not
It's crazy.
unethical. It's not wrong. It's not, hey, I mean, when you come out of high school, somebody put a package together of $3.5 million. This is now real money now, not maybe you'll make the NFL, maybe you'll develop. We hope you won't get hurt. No, this is real money in your pocket today.
Yeah. And I don't think
my dad wouldn't let me turn that down. I mean, he's going to take the money. I mean,
yeah, no doubt. And you could argue, Ohio State's going to do a better job developing you and things like that. And
they probably will.
I would agree, but if you're Carnell Tate, you're going to go to Tennessee where they're going to throw the ball 50 times a game under Josh Heupel.
And he's going to play as a freshman.
Yeah. Yep.
And you look at that Ohio State room filled with elite wide receivers. They aren't all going to, he ain't putting 7 of them on the field at once.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a Mookie Cooper. You're going to have a Jameson Williams. You're going to have this. I mean, I see both sides. Yeah. I mean, the Ohio State offense for a wide receiver it's amazing. I mean, you just point to Garrett Wilson and Olave and say, what, don't miss the draft. And you don't have to watch the second day either or third day, watch the first day.
Yep.
I mean, that sells itself. So I see both sides.
Yeah, no, for sure.
A family able to make $1 million a year for the next 4 years.
Yep.
I mean, that's appealing to me.
Yep.
I mean,
no doubt about it. It's
the NIL's changing the game now. So, you're either in it or you're not in it. And, I've heard really good things about Ohio State too. Their NIL, what's happening with NIL at Ohio State. My guys were at USC a month ago, and man, they got laid out to them. What is available, in LA playing for USC. And then they came to Ohio State, and I really was kind of ignorant about what is going on with NIL through Ohio State. And what I heard was really good. And they were impressed. It doesn't matter what I think. I don't have I'm not taking kids there. But the SFE coaches were very impressed. So they felt good about things. And I think what they felt the best about was CJ Stroud taking his phone and showing him he's a millionaire right now. And that made an impression. So
yeah. And if your guys are impressed, those are the right guys.
Hard to impress those guys.
Yeah.
They'll be with Nick Saban next week, Dabo Sweeney the next. They were with Lincoln. So hard to impress these guys.
No doubt.
We'll see. I still think Carnell Tate, I mean, you can still do well with NIL at Ohio State. That's been proven. And then you get developed by Brian Hartline. You play in the Ryan Day offense. You ain't worried about who's throwing you the ball. Pull one out of a hat, McCord, Brown, Stroud, whoever's coming behind him, you're going to be fine. So I still think Ohio State is going to get Carnell Tate. And
I do too.
I really believe it.
I think they're going to get Tate. I think they're going to get Innis. I think they're going to get Bryson Rogers. I've been on that train since he visited. He's not scared of competition whatsoever. He grew up in Ohio. His parents are from Ohio. His family's in Ohio. He lives in Florida. He grew up rooting for the Buckeyes. I mean, it's just the relationship with Hartline's there. I wouldn't be shocked if it happens after this. I have him on commit watch. I know he's talking about wanting to take. He wants to take official visits. He's saying that, but I mean, Bill, you followed that Joey Bosa recruitment back in 2013 when he came up for that spring game. Nobody expected him to pull the trigger on that.
Right.
And Alex Anzalone did that weekend too. And, it was just, those guys just had such a great time that weekend. Right. And they were just like, this is the place for me. And I could see Bryson Rogers, who's coming up with his mom, kind of come away with that feeling too, and maybe end it a little bit earlier, but we'll see. I'll have to see. I'll have to see how Noah Rogers goes. I don't know enough about him yet. And it's his first time on campus, but they also had a great visit with 5-star Jalen Hale out of Texas a few weeks ago. And he told me they're probably going to get an official visit and they're in the game as much as
Wow.
anyone. So that's another name to think about. But we'll move on from receivers. Let's talk about a defensive lineman coming out from California. Mateo Ugalele, brother of DJ Ugalele, Clemson
Yeah.
quarterback, came out last summer. You guys got to see him at camp. What do you
Special.
think about Ohio State's chances here?
He is special. And, when you first see him show up at Ohio State and, Big Dave was there and they had a group of guys. And I mean, my first thought was, this kid's along for the ride. He's absolutely going to Clemson. There's no way he won't go to Clemson. So it was kind of like an afterthought. But then the more I watched him, and I spent a lot of time with those D linemen, the relationship between Mateo and Larry Johnson was clear. I mean, there was a connection there, and it was really easy to see. It reminded me somewhat of Hero Canoe. Like Hero was there, I don't think it was the same time. I think he was there a week before, but you could just see the respect that was there for Larry Johnson. And man, they worked good together. And I thought, well, it's a shame that this kid is a lock to Clemson. And then, as time went on and I dug into it further, I learned that he'll go anywhere but Clemson. That ain't going to happen. He's not going there. So that opens it wide. That's wide open. Now, I think it's a USC OSU battle. Is he going to leave his boys out there? USC's got it going right now. Lincoln Riley, I mean, ton of attention out there. Things are happening there. It's hard, and they're getting people. So does he stay home and hang with his fellas? Or does he, honor that relationship he has with Larry Johnson? And USC is going to tell him Larry Johnson's going to be retiring at the end of the week. They're going to tell him that every week until he signs. So that's something Ohio State's going to have to overcome. And I think it hurt him a little bit last year with some guys. And they're just going to have to deal with that forever with Larry Johnson. So,
Yeah.
But I think it's a USC Ohio State battle. I think Clemson is out completely, and we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I won't be surprised if Alabama, Nick Saban get involved there too. You can't ever count them out.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, I agree with you. And it's kind of funny. It's Alex. I mean, he's not the D-line coach, but Alex Grinch is the defensive coordinator at USC. And Ohio State's going to be going head to head with him a lot now on the recruiting trail. The one thing I'll say about this recruitment that I think, I'm not saying it's going to be a deciding factor, but when you talk about comfort with the program,
sure.
The family, the Ugalele family, is very close with Paris Johnson and Monica Johnson. Paris and DJ were the same age. They went through the process together.
Wow.
And through all those events and things like that. I know Monica became pretty good friends with the mother, and they spent time together last year when they came out to Columbus. And again, it's not going to be a reason he goes there. I mean, Paris probably won't even be there next year when Mateo hits campus.
Right.
But to have someone who you trust kind of vouch for Ryan Day and for the staff and what they could do for your son, I think is going to definitely give Ohio State a little bit of an advantage to some extent. Not that that's not going to happen this year with USC. They're going to know plenty of parents at USC too, but to have someone like that on the Ohio State side, I think that's a nice, built-in advantage for Ohio State a little bit.
Yeah, and every time you get these kids on campus, it only adds to that experience. Ohio State does visits, they do them as well as anyone, especially official visits are unbelievable. But these unofficials, it seems like if the kid will stay 2 days, if he'll, spend overnight there and he can see the players, a little bit of time to spend with Ryan Day, time to spend with the position coach, time to go through the Real Life Wednesday program, time to talk to the academic people. If they'll spend 2 days, even on an unofficial, man, the hit rate is so high for Ohio State. It's crazy.
Yeah, no doubt. And you're seeing that with the last few weeks, these kids have come up and just raved about their time. And most of them have been multi-day visits. So I absolutely agree with you there. We'll kind of move on to the next group, the second to last group. We'll talk about two kids, a 2023 kid, we'll call him a linebacker. I think he's going to probably be a defensive end in Arvell Reese out of Glenville.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of start moving to 2024 with defensive back Bryce West, also out of Glenville. I mean, Bill, Glenville's been really good to Ohio State over the years.
Have.
Do you expect that to continue with these two guys?
Oh yeah, they'll get both those guys. Now, I know the Teddy Ginn playbook. He is going to want these kids to go through the recruiting process, to bring college coaches to Glenville so he can talk to them about, his juniors, his freshmen, his sophomores. Teddy knows this game as well as anyone. So Arvell Reese may have already committed to Ohio State, and Teddy's going to say, please don't make it public. Take a few official visits. Tell everybody how great those schools were. We need those schools to come back, in January and visit with all our guys. I saw this game with Marcus Hall. It was, it got to be a joke between Gibler and I that Marcus Hall would go visit Miami. You knew he was coming to Ohio State. You knew he was going to sign with Ohio State. He would take a visit to Miami, and he would text me like he hadn't been there. I don't know if he was even off the plane an hour yet. Oh, this place is great. Oh, I love it here. And it's like, dude, he knew how to play that Glenville game better than anyone. And I really believe that Ohio State will get both of them. But unless it's in that kid's heart that he really wants to be committed now, and he absolutely does not want to take sham visits, then maybe they will commit sooner. But at the end of the day, Ohio State will get Reese and West. And I really like both of them too. There's been a little drought there at Glenville, recently. Those kids can play. I mean,
Yeah.
they're both, they're back to, the Lattimore days and the Eric Smith days. And, these kids are good. They're really good prospects.
And they got, I know they got
both of them.
I was going to say, I think they got a few other kids there. Demarion Witten, I think at 24. And there's probably a couple of younger guys too. And to your point, Teddy wants to get those kids looks. And
absolutely.
I agree with you. I spoke to Arvell after his visit and offer to Ohio State. And, when you talk to a kid that's going to end up committing to Ohio State, he was just glowing, and, he said all the right things, and he did a good job.
Sure.
But, as you said, even Marcus Hall, who played the game better than anyone, ends up double birding Michigan on his way out on the field. So, I expect both of those guys to end up at Ohio State. And I think they're both, Reese, I think he's a little harder to project because of where he might move down to. And I think he's a little bit more raw, but I think Bryce West is going to be just as good as any of those Glenville guys that came out of there.
Kind of got some Lattimore to his game, and a little bit of Teddy to his game, a little bit of Darius Hiley for older people like me. I like Bryce West a lot. Both of them they're excellent products. They're going to be 4-star kids, or Bryce could be a 5 maybe. Someday, but they're top of the chart kids. These are not, they would be studs at any high school. It's not they don't give the Glenville gifts anymore. Like maybe in the past, Tress would kind of get 2 supers and then maybe take another one just to be nice to Teddy. That doesn't happen anymore. These kids have earned the offers they have.
Yep, no doubt. And we'll wrap the show up talking about one last kid, 2024 quarterback Jaden Davis. I know he'll be at Penn State Friday. I think their spring game's Friday. Then he's supposed to go to Ohio State on Saturday, but I'll be very, very interested to see if he makes that visit, because I think Ohio State loves the kid. He was definitely their top quarterback target for this class at one point last summer. But someone's entered the picture, and Dylan Raiola was out of Georgia last year. Now he's out of Chandler High School in Arizona, same high school that produced Keon Grays and that Ohio State's offered defensive lineman Amari Washington out of. He visited a couple weeks ago, and Bill, you're hearing some good things about him.
Yeah, at the time he visited, and I wrote about it, the Florida kids, the South Florida Express kids, not the coaches, the kids were like, oh, he's definitely going to Ohio State. That one's done. And I thought, man, these kids, they're always, they knew. I think they're right. I think the kids had it right. And I really think I won't be shocked if Raiola ends up on campus this weekend. I don't know if that's been confirmed yet. I was told that they were looking at flights, and they're not coming back 2 weeks later because they want to get another look. I think they're coming to do business, and I won't be surprised if Dylan Raiola isn't committed to Ohio State in the next 72 hours. And then assuming Raiola would commit on Friday, I'm just saying that, how do they handle Jaden Davis? I mean, if it's me, I want both. And I'm going to sell them on competition, we'll take care of both of you. We'll have a plan for both of you. Our quarterbacks are 3 and out. So that room gets small in a hurry. I would take one and break out champagne. I don't know if Ryan Day drinks or not. I'd have a little champagne if I get one of them. If I get both of them, I might have to have the whole bottle, quietly by myself in my basement. I mean, give me one and I'm the happiest dude in America, but I'm sure I would fight for both.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to tell. I know they probably want to do an honorable, respectful thing, but I don't think that they're going to tell Jaden Davis if he wants to come to campus. Sorry, dude, you can't come anymore because we're getting someone else. So
I would have a plan for both. No,
yeah, I think they're going to have a plan. I think to your point,
Hartline takes 4 wide receivers, and he has a plan for all 4 of them. And that's why people always ask about Julian Fleming. Why does he stay at Ohio State? He stays because a plan has been laid out for him. He has the trust of Brian Hartline and Ryan Day. And that's what I would tell Raiola and Jaden Davis. I would want both.
Yep.
And we're gonna tailor a plan for both of you to get both of you into the NFL.
Yep. And I think the thing to me actually is not managing Jaden Davis. It would be more managing Raiola at that point. If he's committing to you and he's committing to you, why are you taking another 5-star quarterback on campus that weekend? I think that's more important to manage actually than Jaden Davis.
Right. And that's probably the beauty of having a Ryan Day as your head coach is he is honest, I think, to a fault sometimes, where I think you got to be a little Nick Saban-ish, maybe a little Urban-ish sometimes. So I don't think Ryan Day has that in him. So I think Ryan Day is the perfect coach to sell these guys that we can deal with both of you, and both of you can realize your dreams here, because Ryan Day, I think, is honest enough and believable enough that you trust him when he tells you stuff like this. This is not, I shouldn't mention names there, but I mean, I think, the object is to win. The object is to get the purchase order, and whether you do it your way or another way, you got to win. And I think Ryan Day's forte is honesty, trustworthiness, and I think he knows how to manage this. I think he can develop a plan where you're honest with both kids, up front with both of them, honest with both of them. But that quarterback room gets small in a hurry, so I'd want both.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, Bank, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, man.
Really excited to see what happens this weekend. We'll have full coverage on BuckeyeScoop.com. You can always count on Bill to kind of run down his scoop and intel following a big visit weekend like this. We'll definitely try to catch up with as many visitors as we can and get their reactions, and Mark and myself also, as well as some others pitching in on full coverage and gathering all that intel from what I expect to be about 50 visitors. So thanks again, Bill. Thanks all the listeners. We'll see you here next week, and hopefully it's a big weekend for the Buckeyes on the recruiting trail.
This episode of Around the Oval was brought to you by Todd Pennington with Renovation Mortgage. If you've been thinking about refinancing or buying a house, check out our sponsor, Todd Pennington with Revolution Mortgage. They offer low rates for refinancing and home purchase loans, including first-time home buyer programs, down payment assistance, and cash-out home equity loans. Check out revolutionmortgage.com/tpennington.